Yeah, I came to Indonesia about almost 40 years ago as a wildlife photographer. And in the beginning, I had there were many possibilities to see animals in Sumatra and also in Borneo. And I came a few times, but I was limited because I didn't have enough money and my equipment was not very good, so I didn't use all the opportunities available. Now, almost 30 years later, almost nothing left. You can, go by car, by boat for hours and days, and everything is gone. All the forest is gone. It's all palm oil plantations or mining, and this island has been devastated by people. So it's very sad. So I continue to do this job. As a filmmaker, I try to make films about environment, and sometimes, if I'm lucky, I have the opportunity to see a few birds or a few mammals, but it's really what's left, and there's no much excitement about it anymore. This island will become a desert in 50 years now. They have killed everything.
The island of Borneo is one of the largest biodiverse rainforests in the world. On average, about 860,000 hectares of the rainforest disappear every year. Soon, the rainforest will be completely destroyed. I can hardly believe it. Only a few weeks have passed since that call when Bernhard Lohr tried to win my support for a very special film project. A physician and biologist, Lohr wanted to take me along to the rainforest of Borneo so that I could get a direct impression of the dramatic situation on the ground and bring it into the living rooms of the people at home. And now here I am. Is this going to change my life? After a 20-hour flight, I'm happy to see Bernhard with his team at the airport. He has brought Alain Compost with him, the most renowned nature and wildlife photographer in Southeast Asia.
Willkommen in Borneo.
Danke, mein Lieber.
Bernhard tells me that we are en route to the sacred mountain of the indigenous people of Borneo, Mount Meratos. Here, with a bit of luck, we hope to encounter a female orangutan named Maya, who has been reintroduced to the wild, and about whom he is concerned. There has been no trace of her for the last few years, and we want to find out if she's still alive. Our journey starts in Tanjung Puting National Park. It is one of the places where orangutans that have been rescued from captivity are being reintroduced into their original habitat. And there it is, my first orangutan.
Ist das toll. 5 Meter entfernt.
Bernhard advises me to talk to him calmly,
Komm.
and he actually responds. Orangutans, which literally means people of the forest, are our closest relatives in the animal kingdom. Originally indigenous to the whole of Southeast Asia, they are now only found on the 2 neighboring islands of Sumatra and Borneo. While we humans will soon reach the 7 billion mark, there are only 20,000 of our closest relatives left. The illegal animal trade, as well as the destruction of their natural habitat, is the nails in the coffin of these unique creatures. Reintroduction sites like the one in Tanjung Puding are the best places to observe and experience orangutans in the wild. Usually hard to find, orangutans are the only species among the 4 different kinds of apes to have their habitat in the forest canopy where they find their food. But here, I can see them up close, an orangutan mother with her young. For 7 years, the mother stays with her offspring. In the first year of life, the baby clings to its mother's body day and night. The orangutan mother-child bond is the closest in the whole of the animal kingdom. Under natural conditions, almost no young ones are lost. But this also leads to a very low reproduction rate. An orangutan female breeding only 3 or 4 times in her whole lifetime. The danger today is a very different one. Illegal trafficking of orangutan babies is a $1 million industry. Organized by the animal mafia, bands of poachers comb through the last remaining forest of Borneo on the hunt for orangutan babies. They cannot be captured, and so their mothers have to be shot down from the canopy. Only 1 in 7 babies survive the fall from these dizzying heights. From paradise to hell. It takes just 10 minutes by boat. Our driver is the local chief of police. Only with his help are we able to advance this far. Because what we are doing here is not without danger. Here in the middle of the protected rainforest, it looks like I've landed on the moon. Just minutes before, I was experiencing the fascination of the orangutans. And now, this, an illegal gold diggers camp in the middle of the nature reserve. Hundreds of poor gold prospectors are here, rinsing the sandbags again and again in an effort to wash out a few grains of gold. How can this be? We're supposed to be in the middle of a government-designated natural reserve. The police brought us here themselves. But quite simply, they haven't the nerve and they haven't the will to take on the gold diggers. As our boatman tells me, the situation could degenerate into something like a civil war if they did. Eventually, he transports us all back safe and sound to our houseboat, and we realize that we are probably the only strangers to ever have seen this horror.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lieber Herr Gesangsverein, größere Gegensätze gibt's gar nicht.
Hier die Waldmenschen, 10 Kilometer weiter, die Hölle.
We're all in the south of Borneo, the large, more than 17,000 islands that belongs to Indonesia. Covering over 600 miles, our journey takes us by river, logging roads and narrow, unpaved trails to Balikpapan and into one of the largest sizable expanses of continuous rainforest left in Borneo. The idyllic calm on the gentle flowing river is deceptive. I find the shocking images of the gold mine still running in my head, having been witness to horrendous destruction caused by mankind's greed for gold right at the very start of my trip. The expedition into the interior of Borneo begins. To reach the protected forest of Maratus, one of the last remaining intact rainforest areas in the southwest of Borneo, we travel mostly over unpaved trails. But instead of going through dense rainforest, we pass through apparently endless monocultures of palm trees. We are in the heart of the Indonesian oil industry, except it's not crude oil they're extracting. It's the oil from palm fruits. Not long ago, they were dense evergreen tropical lowland rainforest, the most biodiverse ecosystem on our planet. Now, there's nothing more than a green wasteland from oil palms. Not only have orangutans lost their habitat here, but so have all the other animals unique to Indonesia, like pygmy elephants, Sumatran tigers, and proboscis monkeys. It's a catastrophe for the people of Borneo too, though. Human rights don't count for much on the palm oil plantations. Corporations treat their workers like slaves. It's back-breaking work and mostly has to be done by hand and with primitive tools. Things are hardly any better for the indigenous people and peasant farmers who have been living with and off the forest for generations. Quite often, they are forcibly evicted from their ancestral land to make way for the enormous oil palm monocultures to eat into the last intact rainforest in Southeast Asia. Thanks to Alain's excellent contacts on the ground, we are able to take a look at one of the factories that extracts the red gold from the fruits of the oil palms.
Wenn durch Abholzen und Brandrodung und 400 Mal mehr Kohlenmonoxidausstöße in der Welt passieren, als man durch sogenannten Biosprit irgendwo einspart, dann ist das ein Aberwitz. Und ich weiß nicht, welche Leute darüber nachdenken, beziehungsweise uns durch angebliches Denken bescheißen, betrügen, weil es einfach der Wahrheit nicht entspricht. Man spart nichts ein. Und wir haben das Desaster auf der ganzen Welt, abgesehen davon, dass wir so viel an ich sag mal, biologischer Zivilisation verlieren, nämlich alle Arten, die aussterben.
And on we go towards Marathas rainforest. A stop we make en route shows us the next catastrophe currently being played out in Borneo.
Wo führst du mich da jetzt hin?
Ja, was wir hier sehen, Michael, es ist zwar kaum zu glauben, aber das war ein Naturparadies bis vor wenigen Jahrzehnten. Bis in die 70er, 80er Jahre war hier dichtester tropischer Regenwald mit Orang-Utans in den Baumkronen. Und was wir heute sehen, das ist ja selber verbrannte Erde. Zuerst,
Im wahrsten Sinne, ja.
Ja, zuerst haben wir das Holz geplündert und heute reißen wir die Erde auf, um nach Kohle zu schürfen. Und in den 50er Jahren schafft es die Menschheit, und zwar gemeinsam, die Indonesier mit uns gemeinsam, weil wir fragen diese Sachen nach, die hier geschürft werden, die hier geplündert werden, schaffen wir es gemeinsam, im Kern eines der größten Naturparadiese auf unserem Planeten zu plündern. Was wir jetzt hier im kleinen Stil sehen, weil das ist hier illegales Schürfen nach Kohle, das wird hier natürlich auch im großen Stil von großen internationalen Konzernen gemacht. Und,
Kohle ist überhaupt so ein tolles Thema. Bei uns wird es subventioniert und dann haben sie dauernd die Zechen stillgelegt, ne, im Kohlenpott und sonst wo. Also Kohle scheint uns immer, ja, Kohle.
The longer our trip to the Marathas rainforest lasts, the darker my thoughts grow. The only way into the southeast Borneo's last natural paradise is via a dirt road made by loggers. Time and again, we have to stop and get out of the way of the huge truck that would otherwise run us off the road. For 8 or 10 hours, the trucks thunder towards us, and it just makes us want to calculate how many millions of years worth of precious wood is being transported up and down here, and especially where it's all coming from. And that's what I wanted to see. I thought I didn't care. That's what I'm here for. I'm filled with a mixture of helpless rage and despair at the thought I'd love nothing better than to do something about this madness, to bring it to an end. For the first time in my life, I feel like Don Quixote. The driver tells me we're not far from a collection point. Now, I want to know where the logs are coming from. I want to get to the heart of the devastation. But Bernhard, skeptical. And our local guide even advises us against going on. But still, I want to go there. The fuel gauge shows me my limits. It's one of the truck drivers, all of the people, who comes to our rescue with a spare can. Here, on the track, you need to improvise.
Innerlich habe ich eigentlich mitgezählt, wie viel Palmölfrüchte tropfen da jetzt rein. Eins, zwei, drei, vier. Das ist die wunderbare Brotvermehrung hier.
So here we are now, at the collection point for the logging trade, which is shielded from the public. This is where they're kept. These thousands of years old, precious building blocks of life, carelessly piled one on top of the other like so many matches. A man can move hundreds of logs a day with one of these giant caterpillars. How will this man react if I climb up on his pile to stop him from doing his job? Will he know why I'm provoking him? Will he raise to the provocation? I realize what a huge risk I'm putting myself at here. If this pile starts to roll, I'm a dead man.
Als ich da drauf geklettert bin auf die Stämme, dachte ich nur, ich fühle eine Glut voller Zorn in mir. Und ich habe nicht darüber nachgedacht, was wirklich passieren könnte, falls der einen dieser Stämme berührt und das alles ins Rollen kommt und ich vielleicht unter Lebensgefahr stehe. Habe ich nicht dran gedacht. Ich habe allerdings auch gespürt, dass ich ein bisschen eine Macht hatte in dem Moment, weil ich habe diesen Mann aus der Fassung gebracht und er musste reagieren. Und er hat Gott sei Dank so reagiert, dass weder ihm noch mir etwas passiert ist. Aber die Hauptsache war erstmal irgendwo mal diese Missachtung von Aufeinanderstapeln wunderbarster Bäume und Verschieben und Entrinden und furchtbar mal eine Sekunde zu unterbrechen, aus welchem Grund auch immer.
We are very lucky. The camp commander turns out to be a talkative man. He willingly answers all of our questions. The atmosphere feels as harmless as talking to the manager of a home improvement store.
Yang satunya daerah sini unit Mengkapong lah. Kita istilahnya dua cabang kan.
They have two places, two sites.
Two sides.
Yeah.
And how big they are?
Berapa besar? Ada 1.000 hektar?
Ya lebih lah.
Ya, more than 1,000 hectares.
Every side.
Dua untuk
site
wilayah sini, unit ketasan ini sudah sekitar dari tahun 2002.
Yeah, they started in 2002.
2002.
Yeah, they started. But this,
What is the place here? To store the timber?
Ich werde ihn mal fragen, ob ich mit ihm fahren kann.
What does this man feel when he's on the Caterpillar? Is he aware that he's on the front line of rainforest destruction? He's probably clueless because he's just doing a job.
Das habe ich indirekt mitgeholfen. Ich saß mit drauf auf der Zerstörung.
Just a little later, we stop at one of the many freshly deforested expanses of land, which has also been burned. We take the opportunity to take a closer look without any inkling that we might be getting ourselves into big trouble. Alain Compost, who is with us, explains these areas at the edge of the track are the work of poor farmers who have to eke out a living for their families in the barren soil of the rainforest floor. This type of small-scale agriculture, slash and burn, has a long tradition in Borneo, and up until a few decades ago, it posed no threat to the rainforest. It's only through the sheer numbers of landless farmers who have relocated from neighboring islands to Borneo since the 1970s under the major Transmigrazi resettlement program that this method of working the land has become a real threat to the rainforest. Suddenly the mood changes.
Yeah.
The farmer turns up and is obviously not too thrilled that we're on his land taking photos.
Alles okay. Wenn ihr hier so eine Scheiße macht, dann fotografieren wir das auch.
Alain, who's lived in Indonesia for years and knows how the locals tick, warns me. We should get back in the Jeep. But the farmer is fast.
Go.
Der schrie und tobte und wir waren so gerade im Jeep wieder drin und die Türen zu und ein Fenster hoch und er hatte so einen Stein in der Hand und wollte ihn durch die Fensterscheibe schmeißen und hinten, das war ein Pickup, Alain saß hinten auf dem Pickup, also der war jetzt ungeschützt und verstand natürlich, was der Bauer da fluchte und der hat verlangt, Kamera herzugeben und Alain war so schlau, an der Kamera zu faken und sagte, hier, ich schmeiße es weg und schmiss ein Stück Seife in den Straßenrand, sodass der Bauer also nur dachte, wir haben die SD-Karte weggeworfen und wenigstens keine Bilder, aber man kann ja trotzdem mit dem Mund noch weiterreden. Also er wusste natürlich, dass er irgendwie in einer Situation war, ja, wo er sich eigentlich nur durch Rache hätte helfen können. Und er wollte uns wirklich diesen Stein da reintun. Und Alain hat mit ihm geredet und versucht, ihn zu besänftigen. Und ja, es ist klar. Ich meine, die Leute haben natürlich auch Angst, dass wir durch Veröffentlichung ihnen ihren Job wegnehmen. Es ist ein Teufelskreis.
I was so relieved that when we all got out of there unscathed, at first I was pretty mad at that man. We hadn't done anything to him. And after all, he's the one who's burning down the rainforest. What's wrong with this country, this planet? When the rainforest is being exploited on such a massive scale, and yet the poverty level among the population just keeps going up and up, not down. It's only the skill of our drivers that get us out of there safely in the end. What a day. When I wake up the next morning, I see pristine rainforest for the first time. We spend the night at the Eco Lodge built by environmentalists on the outskirts of the village. Compared to what I've been used to in the rainforest, this is luxury. No going to the toilet in the rainforest. No sleeping in a hammock, or even hot coffee in the morning. Why is there a guest house on the edge of an indigenous village, I wonder? The village of Tanjung Soki is home to 250 members of the native Dayak tribe, who are descendants from headhunters. Tanjung Soki, I'm told, is one of those villages that used to be typical in Borneo, but which you don't see many of these days. As we make our way into the village, Bernhard is suddenly approached by a man. Through the translator, we discover that he is sick. A chance visit from a doctor is like a drop in the ocean, which is why a project is already underway to improve the situation for the people there. A health center is being built. While Bernhard does his rounds, I take the opportunity for a little stroll around the village. I reach this bizarre place. What is the meaning of all these upright wooden poles, which look to me like totem poles at first? What is hidden in these strange chests that looks like a little door? Oh, so there's nothing behind it? Whatever it was that used to be here must be long gone. The little boy has obviously been watching me. Can he read my thoughts? He seems to know where the past is still alive, and suddenly it dawns on me. I am in a cemetery.
Das Leben dieser Dayaks hat sich natürlich sehr verändert und dieses Gefühl, dieses Bewusstsein, im Einklang mit der Natur gelebt zu haben, ohne vielleicht jegliche Tradition zu verwerfen, aber ein Großteil davon ist eben weg. Und das dürfte dann wohl in diesem Friedhof begraben sein. Das war so das erste Mal, dass ich auf Borneo einen Punkt der Ruhe empfunden habe. Ansonsten war alles hektisch, schrecklich, furchtbar, stinkend, grausam, kaputt, unrettbar verloren. Und plötzlich war ich an einem Punkt der Ruhe. Das wünschte ich mir für ganz Borneo.
From the dead back of the living, we're heading off to the village school. What does rainforest conservation have to do with school? I ask myself. Of course, it's all about teaching the village children to read and write.
Selamat pagi. Gut. Und in dem Alter, in dem jetzt diese jungen Mädchen und Knaben sind, da muss der Germ, der Keim muss gesetzt werden, dass aus diesem Pflänzchenbewusstsein ein großer Baum der Lebenserfüllung, ein großer grüner Baum wachsen kann. Denn wenn das nicht so ist, dann werden aus diesen jungen Mädchen Frauen, die den normalen Weg gehen, Kinder gebären, und aus den Jungs werden Männer, die in den Wald gehen und Holz schlagen. Und genau das darf es nicht sein.
How far we are from the state of affairs is something I come to realize directly afterwards, as two villagers show us how they are currently earning their money. We go with them to their place of work deep in the rainforest. They show us their most recent deed. We're looking at the remains of a mighty mahogany tree, which must have been a good 200 meters in diameter. When the men realize we're filming them, they suddenly get nervous. They tell us to stop filming. The men know they are taking timber illegally. We keep on filming with a hidden camera. The enormous tree trunks are cut up then and there so as not to leave behind too many signs that might give them away. As adept as this man is with a chainsaw, he is not aware he is sawing away at the branch he's sitting on, that we're all sitting on. The next morning we go to the actual high point of my expedition, the encounter with Maya. Again, we pass countless clusters of shanty huts. These barrack settlements are also the transshipment points for the illegal trade of orangutans. Maya had suffered the same sad fate as this little guy. The irony of it, the little creature is bedding down in sawdust, the shredded remains of his original habitat. Our closest relatives are not only threatened by habitat loss, but also by hunting. They are captured and sold to suffer as playmates in rich Asian households, or worse, to end up as prostitutes in brothels. Inconceivable, but the tragic reality. The last 30 miles into the heart of the Marathas forest turns out to be the most exhausting and the most dangerous. The track is no longer passable for jeeps, so we have to switch to mopeds. And we're supposed to go on like this for 5 hours? What happens if one of us falls? Even with a helicopter, we couldn't be rescued here. I push these thoughts to one side and cling on to my driver even tighter. We're always having to get off the mopeds and cross rivers and streams via rickety-looking constructions. After 3 hours, we finally take our first break. We stop at the hut of one of our drivers. What do the men in this deserted spot live off of?
So they catch the birds alive and they sell them to the bird market.
Is it legal?
No, it's not.
So illegal
Yeah,
market.
but they do, most of the birds are not protected. But
What about,
the people here, they used to put snares also. It's why they know the way to here. But they say it's more and more difficult to get anything. So they say that the animals become more clever, but I suppose they are less and less.
We use this opportunity to get talking to the poachers to find out more about their backgrounds. They turn out to be amazingly welcome.
Makin sedikit, makin kosong. Jadi gimana bagi masyarakat di sini?
Perusahaan yang penebangan itu yang merusak hutan.
He said it's the big companies that destroy the forest.
They are knowing what we are doing here except of the film.
Yang saya tahu untuk penelitian orang-utan.
He said
Itu kan?
they do some research about orang-utans.
Iya.
I tell him maybe ya ini bukan hanya untuk penelitian tapi mereka mau bantu untuk melestarikan hutan di sini. Ya.
Saya senang kalau kedatangannya sini untuk mau kerjasama dengan masyarakat sini, melestarikan binatang-binatang yang ada di sini.
He likes, they are very enthusiastic about it.
Di sini ikut melestarikan hutan tapi ya digaji. Jadi
So
kita nggak ngambil binatangnya lagi.
Yeah,
Jadi kita mengharapkan kayak gitu.
they will be more enthusiastic if they participate in the work here, and if they get a salary from the conservation project, so they can help you doing the conservation work. They can be part of it, and they don't need to put snares anymore. You know.
What they are having here, it's important not only for them, for all of us, of all human beings, because the forest they have here is extraordinary. So we don't have such a forest in Europe. It's only here in the tropics, and therefore that's totally unique.
Hutannya memang penting buat dunia juga.
Ya saya suka.
Maybe we can tell him if he knows all human beings are guests in the world and not the powerful owner. We are not owning the earth. We can live here and love here and all the things, but not one kind of destroying our own home.
After another hour riding with a sore backside, we come across this young man. Here we see another of the faces of poaching. He actually has an entire deer stowed on his moped. If the poachers have already penetrated so deep into the rainforest, how great must the danger be that Maya has also fallen prey to a poacher? Time is moving along. We need to see to it that we reach the camp before nightfall. The more so as we have to travel the last few miles through the rainforest on foot. After a long, hard day, we finally see Camp Borneo ahead of us. As much as I had looked forward to seeing this view, my first look at the camp was a sobering sight. Rubble and ash all over the place. It's immediately clear that the hut has been abandoned for years.
Naja, nee, das ist ja nur die Frage, also wir leben nur von dem, was wir jetzt auf dem Motorrad haben zum Essen, ja?
Ja.
Na super, gut. Oder seit wie vielen Jahren ist diese angebliche Straße, die hier jetzt noch überhaupt gar keine mehr war, die letzten, 15 Kilometer. Und seitdem ist es einfach zugewachsen, oder?
Also im Kern haben wir uns jetzt auf den Überresten einer ehemaligen Holzfällerstraße bewegt.
Naja, das ist ja...
Genau, aber hier.
So.
In 2006 konntest du hier im Jeep fahren und früher sind hier die Logging-Trucks, also die Holzfäller-Trucks rausgefahren. Der Wald, in dem die Orang-Utans ausgebildet wurden, der beginnt auch ein paar Meter hinter dem Fluss.
Ah, da ist ein Fluss.
Und bis hierher, zumindest stellenweise, ist der Wald bis in die 2000er Jahre geplündert worden.
Da stehen ja die Bäume, die ja älter sind, die stehen ja dicht an dicht dran.
Aber wenn das nicht der Fall wäre, wenn sich die Natur das hier nicht zurückholen würde, dann könnten wir uns die ganze Mühe sparen.
Ja, da ist klar.
We use the last of the daylight to set up our bivouac. The next morning, the rainforest shows us how it got its name. Camp Marathas was built in the 1990s as the starting point for one of the biggest reintroduction programs there has ever been for orangutans. Willie Smits, an important orangutan expert, has reintroduced 350 orangutans here. Maya was one of them. After her release, she was given a second Marathas rainforest. She later started to feel right at home in her new habitat. The first few years after her release, Maya was often seen around the camp area. But in the past few years, all traces of her have been lost.
Einer von den Mopedfahrern fing an, Maya zu rufen. Einer von der Crew, wir waren ja ganz viele Männer da. Und einer fing an. Und da machte einer mit. Und dann waren es 3 und dann waren es 5 und es war ansteckend. Und alle wie in einem Chor, der sehr sehnsuchtsvoll klang, sehr melancholisch, riefen sie alle Maya und machten Geräusche, Tiergeräusche und trommelten, und, weil sie ja auch wissen, wie man Affen lockt. Das war ein irres Konzert.
Maya! Maya!
All the calling was in vain. She didn't show up. None of the orangutans did. Even without speaking to Bernhard, I knew what was going through his mind at this moment. We don't know whether Maya is still alive. The way back is arduous, and every step hurts, in my bones as well as in my heart. The tropical rainforests are the cradle of life, and with the last of the orangutans, millions of other animal and plant species will disappear forever. It will have consequences for us too, if our planet's green climate control system no longer works. The global consequences of rainforest destruction will not spare us, and I wonder what role we are playing. Who is benefiting from this destructive game? Only a few will win, many will lose. They suffer and are prisoners of the system. It is still mainly corporations and politicians who make the rules. But every one of us has the right and indeed the duty to intervene, and every move we make in our daily lives has repercussions for the big picture. I hope that mankind takes responsibility for what it's doing and acts sustainably. The weeks I spent in Borneo showed me that it's sometimes a long and very arduous journey to reach our goals, and that when we think we've reached them, everything is different than how we imagined it. But that doesn't mean it was all for nothing. Maybe we need to set new goals, or we need to find a new way of getting there. I need to do that for myself, and all of us need to do it for ourselves as a group. I hope that we all learn to change our mindset, to see our world as one great big whole, thinking not about me, but about we.
Yeah, my hopes, I don't have hopes anymore, because everything we see here, it's too late, you know, because it's a last battle actually. So even if we stop buying wood products or stop using palm oil, I think you know, it will not change here, because there is no forest left mainly. So it's too late for most of those places. So we are just battling, trying to save some pieces left, but it's all. But if you think about hope, I think for me it's finished. That's my personal opinion, but I know it's a negative thinking, but I still support any conservation effort. So maybe there are some hope left. But if you say there are hope, then it covers the reality, and the reality is that humans have destroyed everything in this place. So, you know, we are humans, and we all consume those products. We smoke, we use oil, we use timber. So the human species has been, destroying everything.